Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kid Stories Podcast. I'm Phil Bechtel. Be sure to click the link in the show notes to check out an awesome video of this episode. Now let's get on to some shout-outs. Audra Dowse from Connecticut had a birthday recently. Happy birthday, Audra. I hope for your birthday you got a cute little baby ninja duck and a crown that makes you the princess of wherever you are and a pair of sunglasses that lets you see 100 miles away and a big bucket of goofballs. I think if you were a character in the stories, you'd be a robot maker on a space station that you built yourself and people would come from all around to buy your robots. Thanks for listening, Audra. Tanner also has a birthday this month. Happy birthday, Tanner. I hope for your birthday you get a pet ninja monkey and a flame sword and a bigifying potion and a hat that makes you invisible and a big bucket of goofballs. I think if you were a character in the stories, you would be a trainer at the Valley Town Zoo, but secretly. All the animals would be ninjas, and you'd send them out on missions and stuff. Thanks for listening, Tanner. Emerald from Minnesota has a birthday today. Happy birthday, Emerald. I hope for your birthday you get a boomerang that always comes back to you and a special artifact from the Mist Fairy Vault and a week-long trip to the Academy to learn magic and a big bucket of goofballs. If you were a character in the stories, you would be a sky mermaid. Like a regular mermaid, but you could also fly. Thanks for listening, Emerald. And finally, Hannah Lim has a birthday this month. Hannah, I hope for your birthday you get a little spaceship, and a portal ring, and a box that always has a cupcake in it when you open it, and a big bucket of goofballs. I think if you were a character in the stories, you and your cat Dropkick would be ninja detectives, and you would solve crimes all over town. Thanks for listening, Hannah. Today's episode is titled Time's Up, Part 4. Auden and Tristan spent hours and hours flipping through the thousands of books in their old tower. Books on every subject you could imagine. Books on history and spells and flora and fauna and geography and everything else. Finally, they had a short stack of relevant books set aside to discuss. Okay, began Auden, rubbing his dry, tired eyes. Let's get into it. All right, I've got some books here that mention, or maybe mention, this clock thing we saw, said Tristan. He began setting out open books for Auden to examine. Here's one from a few hundred years ago that mentions a farming community who used a magical clock to fast-forward their crops. They could grow entire fields of crops from seed to harvest in just a few days. They quickly became a very wealthy community since they had so much grain to sell. Tristan slid another book over to Auden. And that one talks about a king from like forever ago who was very sick, so he used some kind of clock to age his infant son to be a young adult so he could take over the kingdom. Auden flipped through the books that Tristan showed him. Well, there are no pictures, but it sure sounds like what we saw. Then Auden took his turn in sharing research. I found out some things about crystal balls. Not a lot of stuff we don't already know. They're pretty rare. Usually, each crystal ball can only do one thing. Some look into the future, some see into the past, some allow you to spy on people, and some allow you to cast spells to other places, reported Auden. So I think what we have here is somehow these Bizzards figured out a way to project the power of the clock from down here in the swamps to up in the dojos. They've been aging people from a distance. Auden and Tristan now considered their findings. They knew that the ninjas had been growing unnaturally old, and they didn't know if it was still happening or if they were able to reverse the effects. The Bizzards' grand plan was clear, and it was working. If allowed to continue, they would all combine with trolls and double their size and strength, all while aging the heroes of the valley. If it worked, within just a few weeks, they could take control of the island pretty easily. Okay, so, began Auden, shifting the conversation to their next action item. We send Speedmane up to the ninjas with a message, explaining everything. And we do a quick hit and run on the Bizzard camp, slowing their progress until the other heroes are able to get down here, finished Tristan. Auden wrote a message on a piece of paper and rolled it up, squeezed it into a little glass vial. He corked the vial and tied it around the lion's neck. Okay, Speedmane, you gotta be quick. Get this message to Old Witch Tubes in the rock fields as fast as you can, Auden instructed his pet. And no eating any of the animals on her farm. Got it? The lion reluctantly grumbled a reply and took off out of the tower, quickly disappearing into the swamps in his quest to the rock fields. Now, about that hit and run, said Tristan. Yeah, sure. We sneak up to the Bizzard camp. You swoop down and blast some flames. I'll sneak around and cast some spells. Bingo bongo, we slink back into the swamp and disappear. Exactly, agreed Tristan. We'll target the table with the clock and the crystal ball. Hopefully we can disrupt the spell casting. Auden and Tristan nodded in agreement, grabbed their adventure bags, and set off for the Bizzard camp. The brothers figured this was going to be a routine hit and run, like many they had done before. But when they arrived within sight of the Bizzard camp, they had to change plans. How did this happen so fast? Wondered Auden. He and Tristan looked upon the Bizzard village, now with guards roaming the exterior of the camp, and big buildings inside the walls. It appeared as though the Bizzard numbers had nearly doubled, and each Bizzard seemed to have doubled as well. Twice as many ultra-sized Bizzards roaming the camp presented a wrinkle in their plans. I can't fly over that camp, said Tristan. They'd blast me out of the sky for sure. And if I tried to get close enough to cast any magic, they'd see me, no doubt, said Auden. Their numbers are growing too fast, and they're making impressive progress combining with the cave trolls. Auden and Tristan thought through their options for a moment. There were a couple hundred Bizzards now. If the two brothers tried to attack them on their own, they'd be captured for sure. Or worse. What about the cave trolls? Said Tristan. What about them? Asked Auden. Well, the Bizzards are clearly kidnapping or troll-napping these trolls, said Tristan. If all the trolls knew the Bizzards were nabbing them and using them for power, well, they'd attack the Bizzards for sure. So you're suggesting we go tell on the Bizzards to the trolls and hope they come down here and attack? Asked Auden. That's actually not a bad idea, as long as we can explain ourselves before the trolls attack us. Auden and Tristan made a wide arc around the Bizzard camp, making sure to remain hidden. They made their way out of the swamps to a cave system that was notorious for housing trolls. The entrance to this place was unassuming and blended into the side of a hill, but the underground network of caves was vast and deep. The brothers did their best to creep unnoticed through the caves. They had a lot of experience looking for cave trolls, but they had no experience talking to cave trolls, and they weren't sure this was going to work. Soon they heard noises echoing down a tunnel. They went to investigate and discovered a group of cave trolls having a birthday party. They all wore pointy hats, and there was cake. Auden snuck into the room first, while Tristan waited out in the hallway. Excuse me, cave trolls, said Auden. Happy birthday and everything. I'm just wondering who's in charge here that I might speak to. You see, there's been... Before Auden could finish his sentence, a nearby troll grabbed him by the neck and pressed him against the wall. Sneaky, sneaky, said the troll. Auden choked out a reply. Yes, well, I wasn't sure how else to contact you all. You see, there's no mailbox out front, and we need your help. Trolls don't help humans, yelled one troll, and the entire room erupted in yelling and growling. Tristan now made his presence known by stepping into the room and taking a deep breath in. Let him speak, or I light you all up like big green birthday candles. The room went silent. The troll, holding Auden, released his grip, and Auden continued. Yeah, thanks for hearing me out. I'll get right to the point. We have a common enemy in the Bizzards. They've been snatching up trolls lately and using them to, well, they've been using their power to make the Bizzards bigger and tougher. The trolls all growled and mumbled, and one stepped forward. This troll was slightly larger than the other trolls, and one of his arms was tattooed completely black. "The Bizards double-crossed some trolls, and ever since then trolls have gone missing. We suspected it was the Bizards." "Well, we are here to confirm your suspicions," said Auden. "We've seen it with our own eyes. They're keeping trolls as prisoners and using magic to take their powers and combine them into like super Bizards." "What happens to the trolls then?" the troll asked. Auden and Tristan just shook their heads grimly. The trolls began yowling and growling and pounding their chests. They scrambled all around to different rooms in the tunnels, grabbing weapons and armor. "Well, hang on now," said Auden. "We think it's best to wait for the ninjas and formulate a plan, something, and maybe we just gather back here." "We destroy Bizards!" the trolls all yelled, and they began flooding, charging out of the cave. Auden and Tristan followed them out, and soon they were standing near a frenzied cave troll army rushing down to the southern swamps. "Okay, well, that kind of worked," said Auden. "Yeah, at least they didn't try and turn us into birthday cake," said Tristan. "Are we just going to join them then?" "I think it's our best bet," said Auden. "Maybe we try and get out in front of the cave trolls and distract the Bizards before the trolls get there so that the trolls catch them off guard." Tristan nodded, and Auden climbed on his back. A few pumps of his dragon wings, and they were flying above the wild trolls toward the Bizard camp. The end. Thanks for listening, friends. The website is kidstoriespodcast.com. Send all your drawings and things to kidstoriespodcast@gmail.com, and be sure to click the link in the show notes to visit the Kids Stories Podcast YouTube channel. Adios!